Hi, dear dreamers. Today is Tuesday, November the 25th, 2025. And I am recording this as a way to anchor in my own being what my current insights are, and not to have expectations about whether you agree, understand, or resonate with my sharing today. Because when I broadcast out without expectations, it boomerangs back to me in a more clear, strong way. And since we're all drops in the ocean, which makes us the entire ocean, when I strengthen my insights and wisdom within me, I strengthen it within the collective as well. In essence, the field around me is strengthened, which then in turn helps to strengthen the ocean's field, of which we are all a drop. So with that, let me begin. I have not recited this earlier or practiced what I'm going to say, and in fact, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to say, other than I had an urge, and I'm answering the call to broadcast far and wide on my Dreams for Society YouTube channel. And as I developed this channel back in 2012, I was still in my infancy, had huge dreams of wanting to see a new society tuned into a utopia, thinking that I still had to change the world in order to see it. And as Gandhi said, be the change we want to see. That's how it works. So now, all these years later, I am reflecting on the fact that it's all within me, and I tune into the channel in which I want to play. And if I never tune into the channels I don't want to play, will those fall away? Yes, they will in my reality. So as I have stated to many people that I do intuitive readings with one-on-one or in my classes, I have said, think of your heart, and this is not a new concept, yet I really love it. Think of your heart as a movie projector, and you're sitting alone in the movie theater, and you have a big, huge movie screen in front of you, and you feed your heart projector with any film you want, and not to worry about the stories in the film. Focus only on the frequency of emotions. So when you feed your heart projector with misery film that is aligned with the frequency of misery, what is projected out of your heart onto the movie screen is a miserable movie. And you can't go up and tear the screen up. Just like if you're looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning, you can't destroy the mirror. You have to change your look in order to get the look you want in the mirror. Like if you have to smile if you don't want to look like you're frowning. So the idea is, if you don't prefer the miserable story, know that you can easily take the film out of your heart projector and replace it with joy film, a story that is aligned with the frequency of joy. And again, not to be concerned about the details of the story. Just sit back and relax, because the fun is not knowing the beginning or the end, yet you can relax into the understanding and knowledge that you put the frequency of joy film in your heart projector, and you will see projected outward on the movie screen a joyful love story. That's how it works. If you go up and destroy the movie screen when it was a miserable story, all that does is continue to feed miserable film in your heart. It's a loop. The more you resist the story you just created, you're just continuing to feed that frequency into your heart, and so the more it will persist. That's how it works. Now, I've talked about this before, I believe, on my channel, and I'd have to go back to my notes, my journal. I'd say it was about 7 years ago that I woke up one morning and I was downloaded this Feel It and Free It exercise. And basically what this exercise does is it is a shortcut to years and years of what meditation can do, which is to get us in the habitual state of feeding our heart projector love and joy film. What if there was a shortcut? What if we could develop and utilize a tool that transmutes the miserable film into love film, so we don't have to go through the steps of removing the miserable film and replacing it with love film. We can actually transmute, while it's still in our heart projector, the miserable film into love film. This is really what we're doing anyway. We may visualize it as removing the miserable film and putting love film in to replace it. Yet what we're really doing is transmuting the frequency in our heart. And what if there's a shortcut that we don't have to go into a cave for 20 years or 40 years and meditate? What if we can develop a shortcut? And that's what this Feel It and Free It exercise that I downloaded about 7 years ago is. And I will explain it. The best time to do it, to use this exercise, is when you wake up. First, wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and you're thinking of something. You're watching something on the movie screen in your mind's eye. And you're like, oh no, you're remembering something that happened the day before, or something you worry about the next day, or something that happened a long time ago. And with that story is this huge emotion. Let's say it's betrayal, a betrayal frequency. And you just want to get out of bed, jump out of bed and go call that person out and yell at him and tell him to change and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's like going up, getting out of your seat and going up to the movie screen and tearing it apart. No, that's not what's going to change the frequency in your heart. In fact, that's going to keep that loop going, that betrayal loop, so that you continue to see betrayal movies. So what can you do? Well, let me just tell you briefly. You will transmute it, and I will tell you how to do that. How this came to me was that we do not ever need to focus on the story or the details. The story, whether it's a memory we remember, or a story that just happened yesterday, or a story that we fear is going to happen tomorrow, all the details in our mind don't add up to anything. Nothing. It's the frequency of the emotion that is the key. The story, the memory of the story, or the fear of a new story, only points to the emotion that we can now transmute. So how do I know this? I know it within the deepest depths of my soul, because I woke up, like I said, about 7 years ago, and I'm a prolific dreamer and a prolific thinker during the middle of the day. I had no thoughts in my mind. Now, I have had this occur before. I've been in the void twice, which is different. Yet I've also been able to be what I think Eckhart Tolle would like to refer to as the now. What is that? It's really having no access to the past or the future. You're only able to think in the now in terms of what you have to think of in the now. You don't access anything more than what you need in the moment. So in the moment, I access this notion that as I just woke up with my eyes still closed and no sound or light anywhere, it was still dark out, I felt this yucky, terrible feeling. It wasn't the worst feeling I've ever had, but it wasn't pleasant. And it was located in my stomach area, the solar plexus, the power center. And I'm like, what? Again, I'm just thinking in the moment. I was not thinking in terms of what it was called. In fact, I couldn't recall any story that this emotion was attached to. I did not remember any dreams. My mind was blank, except for just recalling that I had this emotion. Then I was downloaded. My higher self gave me directions because I started to notice that the feeling, this yucky feeling, was a wave, an energetic wave in my solar plexus. I said, oh, great, it's not attached to me, it's just a wave. And I now realize we're borrowing all these energetic emotions from the field. They're not us, they're not attached to us, they're just emotions we're borrowing, and maybe we've enslaved them in our body to play with for eons. So this feeling, attached to no story, was puzzling to me. I had never noticed it being detached, and at any time an emotion in my life being separate from a story. Then I afterwards realized, well, what is a story without an emotion? Because the emotion comes first. The emotion comes first. That's why we put the emotion in our heart projector. And then the story is found in the field to align with that. So the emotion comes first, the story aligns with that, and it's projected on the movie screen. So we don't have any need or desire then to judge the story. We don't want to kill or destroy anything outside that's in the story, because the genesis, the origin of the story, The power is the energy of the frequency, emotion. So I was told, gather that energy wave, that yucky emotion, into a ball, tell it you love it, and this may be hard to do. In fact, 2 days ago, I had an emotion pop in around a story, and I did not want to let go of the emotion. You have to want to let go of it, because I still wanted to destroy the movie screen. I wanted to go up and call somebody out on something, a betrayal that happened. I wanted to pound it in their minds that they're wrong, blah, blah, and that I'm right, and I was the victim. And you know how that goes, the human condition. And it was very difficult for me to say, I love you, to that emotion the other day. In fact, this was the hardest feel it and free it exercise I've done. But that morning was super easy because I had no story. You know, the story had not aligned with the emotion yet. So it was just an emotion that could be released easily. And the reason why we don't realize that the emotion and story are separated and that the emotion comes first is because we think everything is happening to us and that the story creates the emotion. It's vice versa. It happens so quickly we don't realize what comes first. So I gathered it up in a ball, said, I love you. And if you can say, I unconditionally love you, or I love you without judgment, that's even better. But that the other day, it was like, this is very, very difficult. Because that is the key. If you can't say I love you to it, I love you betrayal, and I had a story attached, so it was hard, then it's going to be harder because you don't want to let go of it. So if you can say I love you, that's a great sign. I love you. The next thing to say is thank you for serving me, which is a lot easier to say. You're no longer welcome. You're free to go home through the portal from which you came. And I was directed to put it in a ball, like I said, and toss it out into the ether. I did all this in my mind's eye. And I saw it leave. I'm like, oh my gosh, it did. It went through a portal. It's gone. Okay, is it really? I'm still not thinking of a story. I'm accessing the moment. And I went back to my solar plexus. And so now I have no story and the emotion is completely gone. I never had a story. And now I have no emotion. And I felt such at peace in that moment, except, you only have what's left when you get rid of the distorted emotions, the emotions that were here to transmute from lead to gold. That's the true alchemy. It's not really about changing physical lead into gold, which chemists can do, but yet the true ancient alchemy is transmuting negative emotions, if we want to call them negative, into positive emotions. And then we play in heaven on earth, because all we have left are positive emotions. So that is the key. You may want to listen to this a couple times. However, please, your biggest takeaway from this is to remember that emotions come first. Emotions and feelings. And then that vibration, energy, frequency, and vibration, as Nikola Tesla says, in that order. You understand the secrets of the universe when you understand energy, frequency, and vibration. Then that energy, frequency, and vibration will find in the field, in your field, the story that aligns with that and will play out in front of you in your reality that you think is outside of you, yet it's all inside of you. So next time when you want to call someone out or yell at them or try to make them understand you, remember, it's not the story. The people, places, and things that triggered you just now are only doing that in your blueprint to help you find the emotion within you that you can transmute from lead to gold. Stories do not matter. They don't add up to anything. They only facilitate us finding the distorted emotions, the negative emotions, so that we can finally transmute them from lead to gold. If we do not, if we try to punch that person or destroy the movie screen, like I said, the feelings of misery that we put in our heart projector will only intensify. There is no right or wrong when you look at it from a panoramic view. It's just giving us the opportunity over and over and over again through more intensified stories to help that intensified story will help us find the emotion once and for all. And we're so miserable in the intensified story that we're ready to release it because we've hit the wall. Yet, we don't have to hit the wall and we don't have to see intensified stories. We can transmute yucky feelings, little yucky feelings, not horrible, horrific feelings like, we tend to embrace in our reality to create horrific stories. We can do it the first go around or the second go around and not wait for the 100th and billionth time before we hit the wall. So the next time you feel a little something that triggered you, remember you have that opportunity at that time to transmute that feeling from lead to gold, and it's gone. And now you will not get another story that's more intense because that feeling won't be there to create that same story. Are there layers? Yes. However, that morning, I got rid of the whole kit and caboodle. The other morning, when I didn't want to get rid of the feeling I was having of betrayal around a story that was in the way past, I was thanking the story for helping me find that hidden layer of betrayal. And I felt like I did get rid of some, transmute some of the layers of betrayal, yet I do have more. And that's the process. That's what some call the ascension process or the enlightenment process. It's to remember that we are already perfect, that we are already in heaven. We're just playing out the hell of low frequencies for the fun of remembering how to transmute them from lead to gold. So with that, I will leave you, dear dreamers. Until next time, love and joy, Lisa.